Everybody, it's Jeremy Burke from Follow Me Leadership. I haven't been on in a while. Sorry, it's been obviously the pandemic. I think is getting everybody down, having to stay inside all the time, and we can't really go anywhere or do anything. Wearing masks and distancing. I'm about as done with it as I'm sure you all are too. Um, I want to do a quick video today just to kind of get back in the swing of things and talk about um, when you're dealing with kids and bullying, and as a parent, how do we fix it, or how do we help our kids deal with this, and can we stop it for them? And I think those kind of three things right there kind of put us in the right frame of mind to really think about what is the best way to help our kids adjust socially with in this world of bullying that they're getting in schools, and online, and social media stuff. And to me, I look at it as this is a lot like learning how to ride a bike, or learning to talk, learning to read, learning to dress yourself. Everything that we teach our kids when they're young to do as they start to grow older. It's practice, it's repetition. You're kind of challenging them to push themselves at times, but it's not anything that ever is going to fix itself overnight, is the way I look at it. To me, as a parent, you're never going to be able to stop bullying or prevent bullying from happening to your kids. And it's really, I think, what you need to shift focus away from is trying to put up a wall or a barrier for them to try to keep them safe, and train them to deal with this stuff. It's just like when I joined the military, we would train our soldiers, to do all sorts of things, but you can't prevent anybody from getting shot at or blown up or injured or whatever. You teach them how to deal with things on the battlefield. You teach them how to deal with challenges and problems, and near-death experiences, as well as other people losing their lives in combat. It's very much the same with our children, that as we raise them, we train them to do all sorts of things. But what we're really not doing, I think, as a society, is training them to be a confident person, to kind of take life's challenges from their peers head on and deal with them. So I think there's a couple, I'll point out a few things that I think have been mistakes that we historically make as parents, and I think these are things that continue still today. Number one on my list is training your children to feel sorry for the kids that are picking on them, that perhaps they don't have a great home life, and maybe there's other things in their home environment that is less than something desirable. Maybe they have terrible parents, maybe they have a poor financial situation, or maybe they're just poor living conditions. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But you're training your kids to look at these aggressors as somebody to be pitied. And now it doesn't mean we train them to hate these kids. No, that's not it at all. But when your main focus is to teach your kid to feel sorry for the person that's hurting them, that doesn't train them to deal with it, to try to get it to stop, to to basically put up their own defense and push back. And again, this isn't necessarily about fighting. This is all about showing the world around you that you're not going to be the victim. When you train your kids to feel sorry for everybody that's beating them up or picking on them, you're teaching them they're supposed to be a victim, and they're going to be waiting in life for things to come to them, because apparently they're a victim and they can't do for themselves. So whether it's a kid on the in the classroom that's calling them bad names, or on social media, or maybe they're getting pushed around in school or on the bus like I did, maybe it's something much worse. As they get older in life, they'll have bosses that are going to take advantage of them, treat them terribly. They'll have coworkers that will, stab them in the back and, take credit for their work, or they'll, you name it. It just builds and escalates, throughout our lives. So when you train your child to feel bad for everybody, you teach them to be the victim. They're never going to be able to dig themselves out of that. They'll be a victim their entire life. And unfortunately, for many people that do get out of that, it takes something extreme to happen, whether it's a really vicious assault, whether it's a physical assault or a sexual assault or something, to kind of snap them out of the hole and get them to start trying to fix themselves. And so I just think that's a terrible thing to train your kids. And again, I'm not saying we should teach, our kids to go out and hate everybody that's pushing them around. That's not what I'm talking about. My perspective is, you want to teach the kids that, hey, you don't have to be a victim. Nobody has the right to tell you what to do, to push you around, or make you feel terrible. That's not okay. It's never okay, because, especially like with girls, if you're going to train them that, this victim mentality early on, and it will get much worse and worse as they grow into adolescence, their teenage years, they're dealing with boys, and then in college, and, it's just, I don't have to point out the specifics. I think anybody reasonable can see where this possibly could be going. I think the other things that we do too is that, we teach our kids that they're supposed to never take justice in their own hands. Basically, that if somebody's pushing them around, making them feel terrible, that they should just go tell an adult, go tell a teacher, go tell, a teacher's aide or a principal, or if it's at school, if it's another parent that's around, yes, those are good things to do, but that is not going to be a solution. I know it was definitely not the solution for me when I was a kid. In fact, it made the bullying about 10 times worse. When I say this is not the way to go, it's that you can't look at this as this will be the answer to our problem. It's one thing to make teachers aware that, hey, my kid's getting picked on at school, but you can't stop there, because the school is never going to, even today, in today's world, they're never going to take a stance where one child will be persecuted for bullying on another. They'll have all sorts of lectures. They'll bring in parents and tell them we need to treat everybody wonderfully, and a lot of kumbaya stuff. But that doesn't. They will never actually solve the problem, because they view that person that's bullying or that's conducting the bad behavior on another child as a victim as well. That it's got to be something wrong with them. We should feel sorry for that person, and maybe we need to do more counseling with that kid. That will not stop it. It may help a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, it doesn't. And I've seen this with my kids growing up. That when they were bullied, we would tell them, all right, you got to tell your teacher, let them know. And they would do that. And then I would email the teacher or call them after school. I've gone in to meet with teachers. I've even met with the principal. And every time, I took action in reporting, if you will, to the school, because I'm trying to do the right thing and not get directly involved yet, letting the system try to work itself out. It never stopped it. It just kind of, it definitely made the kids that were doing bullying to know to try to be more careful. They were more careful about when they did these things or said terrible things or whatever it was they were doing. They knew to watch out, make sure teachers weren't around or nobody was looking. We were training them to be better criminals, essentially, is the way I look at it. So again, it's just like, putting a security camera in a bank or a store, that's not going to stop criminals from coming in and robbing the place. It's one little tool that you can use to help try to prevent crime or keep it from happening, but it is not the be all end all. It's just something that gives you a little bit more of an edge. So don't expect that when you start running to the school or, you go sit down with even if you get a hold of like a lawyer and say, all right, I'm calling my attorney, we're going to go, we're going to come in and meet, again, That might ruffle a few more feathers. It might get a little bit more action, but it's not going to be the end game, if you will. I think, at the end of the day, what what does stop bullying? Well, the true answer is nothing. Nothing will ever stop it. Kids are always going to bully other kids, and in some cases, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know for boys, we all pick on each other, we all push each other around as we grow up, and that's kind of a part of life and learning to to grow from a boy to a teenager to a man. Um, but when I say that, I don't mean that I'm advocating. I can hear people in my head just all of a sudden think, oh, he's advocating for bullying and he thinks it's great that boys pick on each other. No, it's not the point. You know, I'm trying to get everyone to get out of this mentality that we can legislate bad feelings away, that we can legislate bullying away. We can create rules and programs at schools that will take it all away and everyone will just be wonderful and happy. That's never going to happen. It's impossible. And I know that all these different programs, there's even laws in the books in different, communities and states, against stuff like this. It still goes on. In this, we've had these types of, especially like the anti-bullying programs. I think they're the biggest waste of money and time. And they're really just a cover your own ass type thing for the school district. And when they put these in place, because they want to be able to say, we had the program, we taught all the kids, that they have to like each other and not pick on each other, and everybody signed, and then the parents took the note home to the parents. They signed that everybody read the pamphlet or watched the video or whatever. So we are good. Bullying does not exist anymore. We all know that that's not true. There is really one true way to try to stop bullying from happening to your kids. It's teach them to stand up for themselves, to let that person know that, hey, I'm not a victim here. You want to pick on me, I'm going to push back. Whether that's a verbal indication, you can teach kids that, hey, kids start calling you names and call them names back. Nobody ever died after being called a bad name or something. If kids are getting pushed around, teach them to push back. I tell you, my single biggest regret in my life is from fourth grade. I remember sitting on the bus, hunched over and crying, with all the kids laughing at me because I'm crying and I'm getting teased and picked on, and the 2 or 3 kids that were bullying me were slapping my head. They were kind of flicking my ears and pushing me back and forth and everything. And I just sat there and I took it. And I look back on those days, and it happened every week, multiple days. If there was just one moment during those days where I just said no more, and I picked my head up and turned at the first kid who was picking on me and just punched him right in the nose as hard as I could, I probably would have gotten beaten up by the rest of them, but I was getting beat up already. But it would have showed everyone around that I was no longer going to be this willing victim that is just going to stand there and take it. I really do. I look back on those days. I wish I had just did that. I can't even fathom how different my life would be today had I just stood up for myself back then. And who knows? Yes, you run the risk of, your kid getting beat up. Who knows? The school may even take action against your kid they're the ones being bullied, and when they decide to push back, the school may say, oh, that's a violent action, so we're going to have to suspend them or expel them from school. Okay, so be it. That's not a school worthy to be teaching and training your child, if that's the type of, action that they're going to take. God, I know I've seen other kids stand up for themselves. And when they did get in trouble, their parents maybe show up at the school and say, yeah, I'm glad my son or my daughter stood up for themselves. I'm glad they pushed back and said, no, I'm not going to be a victim. And, sometimes parents, we have to push back on that school and say, no, you've been letting this stuff happen to my child for weeks or months or years or whatever, and no more. If you can't protect my child, then my child is going to have to do it on their own. I just think that is, I know that is the only way to truly at least stop the bullying happening to your kid. You know, I know, especially back when I was a kid, the kids that would make the rounds on the bus every morning and just pick on everybody. Some kids, that were on the receiving end of it were very good about pushing back. They might kind of just make some verbal comments back. They might go along with it or whatever and deflect it. I've even seen kids basically just stand up and say, "You can get out of my face." You have to do that. But when you see those things happening, you can see these bullies quickly transition away. They don't want to deal with the confrontation. They love, and I don't care how old they are, where they come from, their financial background, or their economic situation, what kind of community they live in. I don't care. Every bully is the same, whether they're a kid, a teenager, an adult. They love the willing victim. They love the person that's just going to take it and do whatever they say and not push back because it's easy, and yes, maybe those kids have problems, but it's not your problem. It's not your child's problem to have to deal with. Maybe you've been telling the teachers all along and they're not doing anything about it. Well, again, that's not your fault to continue to let the system fail your child. You have to step in and do something. I just think it's the most important thing we can do as parents. We train them how to walk so they can walk on their own. We train them how to ride a bike so they can ride a bike on their own. We train them to dress themselves and go to the bathroom on their own. We train them to feed themselves and to, eventually as they get a little older, we teach them how to make food. We teach them how to, count money and get a job and drive and do all these different things. We're training them to do everything except training their self-confidence. You have to train kids, starting from a very early age that, life is not easy. Life is not, sunshine and rainbows, as we always say. It's not. Life can be pretty dark at times, but it's how you deal with it that makes it better. If you decide to just hunker down and stay in the rain, then that's going to be your life forever. If you're waiting for somebody else to fix the wrongs that are in your life, you'll be waiting forever. You have to stand up immediately and take action against whatever aggression is coming towards you. I don't know. I guess I could go on and on forever about the victim mentality, and it's becoming so prevalent in today's society. We see it everywhere. We're now, we have this like institutional effort to promote victimhood amongst our kids and adolescents growing up. I don't get it. It doesn't work. It keeps people, I guess maybe because it keeps people dependent on someone else to take care of things for them. But it's never a good, it's not the best way to raise your kids. I think if you truly care about your child, you truly want to see your kid thrive in school and on the athletic field, you want to see them thrive, socially and do well in everything they take on and be happy about it, then just start training them when they're really young, or it doesn't even matter. If you haven't been doing it yet, start right now. Train kids that, hey, you do not have to be a victim in life. No one has the right to have control over you, whether it's through aggression or words or intimidation or whatever. You are your own person. You decide what you want to do in life. You're not going to be a victim anymore. If kids are worried about getting beat up, then, put them in a karate class or get them into jiu-jitsu or aikido or something. All of those things. I'm not going to advocate one martial art over the other, but martial arts in general promote self-confidence. It's the whole point of it is, training, like, look what I can do. Look how I can handle things that come at me. Same thing with sports, and athletics. Every kid should get into some sort of sport. It doesn't have to be everybody going out for the football team or the track team or whatever, because not every kid's built for stuff like that. But, put them into activities where they have to compete against, themselves. They compete against their peers, from school or other schools. You know, soccer is a good thing, volleyball, and, anything where they got to work, as a team or even as an individual. And again, it could be any sport at all. I don't care what it is. Get them into something. It helps. It helps them grow. It helps them understand. And and again, if you're starting, if you're one of these parents who, you never really knew how to help your kid deal with this, and maybe you're just now getting a hold of my videos and my podcasts, and you think your kid is too far gone, well, start somewhere. Pick one little thing, to teach your kid about, change something up for them, and it might be just to an extreme level already that you can't just start to change them because the environment they're in is just, it's too dangerous for them to be in. Maybe they're getting bullied like I was in school, just constantly every single day. Well, then you know what? You got to pull them out of that school. Go to a different school. Maybe you got to move. I don't know. I mean, I know this sounds extreme, but in some cases, it might be that necessary. If they're getting, bullied on social media, you can't necessarily run from that, but it might be time to take the social media away for a while. I think our kids, teenagers and much younger, preteens, God, kids have cell phones now at 7 and 8 years old. I've seen. It's just madness. I didn't have a cell phone until after I graduated college and got a full-time job where they gave me a phone as part of the job. I was a sales representative, and that was part of my job. I needed to be able to call my customers, my warehouse and distribution and everything, so yeah, they gave us, that was my first phone. Now, kids today, my kids got their first phones, I think, when they were 10. And I was dead set against it, because of everything that we see on there. I'm not going to go too much in all that. But, my point is we might have to just start deleting some of the social media apps that they're getting picked on, and if, start contacting attorneys or the police if you have to, if it gets that bad. These are all little things to do, just little things, I think, to try to start to help change your child's world. But you have to do it from the perspective of it is time for you to stand up and not be a victim anymore. And that's the most important message. They're not going to be able to adopt that right away. They may not understand it. They most likely will have no idea how to not be a victim. It takes time. They have to achieve little victories here and there in life to realize, hey, I don't have to be a victim here. I can stand up. I can do all these great things. But you've got to have that as the backbone of your attitude. So anyways, I hope that helps. I'm committed now to, I got to start doing this more often. I know I get some comments every now and then through social media or even an email once in a while. I'll get people saying, hey, I like that video you did. Doesn't look like you've been doing some in a while. And I'm just, every day I'm like, I just got to start doing this again. So I'm back. So you will see and hear a lot more from me. Please, if you like this video, hit the like button on it. Follow me on all my social media. You can get me I'm on TikTok now at Jeremy M. Burke 33. That was generated for me, so I didn't even pick that. The Instagram, you can get me at Follow Me Leadership, or Leadership Follow Me. Facebook, you can also follow me Leadership as well. Like the podcast, and please keep tuning in. If you have questions about anything, please hit me up in any of those avenues. I don't care what it is. You can get me jburkeleadership@gmail.com. Let me know your questions. If you have ideas of something you'd like me to talk about or hear in the future, please let me know. Take care. Have a good day.